Start with a flea flicker to open up the night. And he connects with Galladay.
Sup, everybody. Welcome to this week's Flea Flicker. We're going to recap week 3. Joe, how are you doing today?
Doing all right, getting through the week, looking forward to football. Can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk briefly about the recent news today or yesterday about the Tennessee Titans and Minnesota Vikings. At least the Titans players testing positive. The Vikings seem to be fine for now, but this week's game against the Steelers and Titans, a big game in the AFC, looks like it's going to be played on Monday or Tuesday. Joe, what are your thoughts from that? What was your takeaway, and do you think they'll get this game in on Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned. It's some people, I guess, kind of looking on the gloomier side of things, see this as the beginning of the end. It's possible. We don't know how many Vikings players could have potentially gotten it since, there is that kind of 2-week incubation period, I guess, where, it doesn't really show symptoms. So I'm not really sure, how it's going to go. I guess we'll see. I'm glad that they're tentatively postponing the game, and Monday or Tuesday, they'll be able to play. I think the Steelers, they're definitely, kind of a veteran team. I think they'll be a little bit more equipped to kind of handle this, especially because they don't have to stop going to practices like the Titans do. That's what I'm really concerned about with the Titans having to spend. And I think the Vikings had to as well, if I'm not mistaken, spend this whole week practicing remotely. So, that definitely, prevents you from having any type of practices with players together to go do plays and work on the chemistry. So that definitely concerns me for the Titans moving forward this week.
Yeah, luckily the Titans' game plan is just handing it off to Derrick Henry, so
Yeah.
not too much practicing on that, but hopefully they can get the game in on Monday or Tuesday, and so
Yeah.
stay tuned for more of that. But another quick note, thank you to my brother Craig for being our first guest picker. If you would like to be the guest picker this week, make sure you watch our video on Saturday, like, subscribe, and then comment your pick. But, you might as well comment your pick for tomorrow night's game against the Broncos and Jets. We'll be talking about that at the end, but go ahead, comment your pick now, get that out of the way. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get out of the way, and let's enjoy the week 3 recap. Joe, are you ready?
Absolutely, Timmy B. Let's get into it.
Love it. So we're going to start with the first game that we talked about. We had the Washington football team at the Cleveland Browns. Dwayne Haskins had 4 turnovers, could have been 5, but they recovered a fumble, and he gave the Browns a short field. They were up 20-17 in the second half. Short field with Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Odell, Jarvis Landry. Any team with that talent, no matter who the quarterback is or what you play call, they're going to get the ball in the end zone. Browns win 34-20. Joe, any other thoughts from that game that you saw or read about?
Yeah, just watching the game, the one thing that stood out to me was that it felt like a closer game than the score reflected. And, if Dwayne Haskins even had half the turnovers that he did, then, maybe they win that game. Maybe they're within one score. So, I'm a little bit impressed by the Washington football team. I did pick them to win. That was kind of a little bit of an upset pick there. But, I guess I kind of felt good about Terry McLaurin. He's been, playing well, and he did have a good game. But, Nick Chubb, man, what a beast. I love it, dude. He got me a lot of points in one of my fantasy leagues. He's definitely such a beast back there, does such a good job, and is so underrated. Just finds those hidden yards that a lot of people don't really talk about. We see a 20-yard touchdown run, but, it was a great run. Yeah, good game on both sides. But it is the Browns. It is the Washington football team. So, I guess it's all kind of taken with a grain of salt.
Absolutely. And a couple key injuries to that defensive line. Chase Young seems to be week to week is what I've been reading about yesterday and today. So
Right.
Hopefully we can get him back on the field soon. But that guy, Matt Ioannidis, he tore his biceps. He's done for the year. Luckily, the football team has a lot of depth on that defensive line, so I think they'll adjust just fine. Tough matchup. We're going to talk about their week 4 matchup later. But you're 0-2, Joe. Whew, not a good week. I'm 2-0, and our guest Craig was 1-0. Moving on to a game that honestly I probably didn't see a single play except for like the 2 touchdowns that I saw in red zone. The 49ers beat the Giants on the road 36-9. Joe, you got your first win. I'm 3-0. Craig went 2-0. I really don't have anything to say about this game. I mean, the 49ers dominated. Shout out to Kyle Shanahan and the coaching staff. Basically going in there with all their backups. They still had a great game plan. They still stuck with what they do best of running the football, making sure the ball gets in the running back's hands and playing good defense. And, they won this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely just speaks to how far off the Giants are. I mean, they're, I can't remember. I might have picked them to go 7-9. That right now it seems very, very generous. I mean, the Giants, a lot of people kind of thought that, if Daniel Jones, gets it together, if Saquon's healthy, they've got kind of you would think enough weapons at the receiver position. And, maybe they can win some shootouts, get the defense better in a couple of years. They're on the rise. But, yeah, I mean, this is a banged-up 49ers team. You have to go out there and, this is a game that you're definitely capable of winning or at least competing. And to, just get blown out, yeah, to me it just speaks to how far off the Giants truly are from being a competitive football team again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you said 7-9, you didn't predict Saquon's going to be out week 2. So, with Saquon, maybe this game's a little bit differently. I mean, that's a huge part of the offense. I still think the 49ers would have won, but I feel like that's enough about that game. Now, Joe, the third game that we picked and talked about, your Philadelphia Eagles played Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and you went into overtime, and nobody scored. So you guys tied at 23 on the graphic. I didn't even give you guys a color. Normally I do the color of the winning team. This game is now white because you guys tied. Joe, I'll let you have the floor. Please talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's once again just incredibly discouraging and, just disappointing for a team that a lot of people had high hopes for. I mean, I'll start on the injury front. Eagles, once again, came out of this game just completely decimated by injuries. Dallas Goedert goes down. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. Same with Avonte Maddox, our number 2 corner. And then who else was it? Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson, I think injured his hamstring. He's day-to-day. And J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, shocker, had some type of pregame injury, so they limited his snaps. My God, this receiving core – already underperforming, already, now it's just decimated. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside picked him over DK Metcalf. Doesn't have a target, or he's got 2 targets. One of them was the interception last week against the Rams. The other one was the week before. It was a drop against the Washington football team. 2 targets in 3 games for a second-round draft pick. We picked over DK Metcalf. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. He's been awful this year. But let's move on to who's throwing him the ball, because Carson Wentz has just been so bad. I mean, I've always been a Wentz lover and a supporter, and I'll find excuses with last year a lot of the weapons didn't have them. I've seen the potential. We've all seen what he did in 2017, but man, there's no excusing the just terrible decision making, just so many missed throws. I mean, when you're all your receivers are injured and you finally win a matchup with we're split out wide, no running back, empty set. Miles Sanders is out wide, lined up one-on-one with the linebacker, I believe Josh Bynes. Wins easily at the line of scrimmage, going deep, fly route, wide open. Carson just overthrows him. That was the touchdown, the game-changing play we needed. Missed him. No reason to. There wasn't pressure. No excuse. It's just been like that all year, and I don't understand what's been going on with number 11. I don't think it's Doug Peterson or the play calling, because I think Wentz changes a lot of the play calls at the line of scrimmage. The O-line, they did fine. They did well in the run game for Miles Sanders. There was some pressure. Jason Peters was under duress a lot. He was getting worked pretty much all game. I think that he kind of came into camp a little bit heavier than normal because he was expecting to play guard and then went back to tackle. He's been gassed a lot. He did not look like the all-pro Hall of Fame left tackle that we've known. So, a lot of mess on the offensive side of the ball. And then, defensive line showed up. We got 8 sacks. A lot of people made a lot of plays. Darius Slay had a good game, but just let up too many big plays on 3rd down and in the red zone to Joe Burrow. It was a tie. We didn't get the loss, but it's a loss. You know, it is a loss. It was against the Bengals, and you know, it's just terrible. You know, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, and you got to tip your cap to Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I mean, I texted you. Once he gets an offensive line, once they really protect him, they have the pieces around him with Mixon, Bernard, Green, Higgins. You know, they have some solid pieces, Tyler Boyd. So Joe Burrow is going to be a problem, but you got to protect him first. But, you know, in a year or two, he's going to be very scary. Now, Joe, we do have to talk about the play calling and the coaching decision at the end of overtime. To me, and I know we were texting about this, so we got to let the people know, you got to get some yards there, because you got to, not saying you have to plan for a penalty or a false start, but if you had, instead of 4th and 7, if it was 4th and 3, 4th and 4, that goes from a, you know, 53, 54 to 58, 59, and not 59 to 64. So you got to do something. I mean, you got to call something instead of just running up the middle for 1 yard. I know it wasn't the best game for Wentz, and, you know, with all the injuries and stuff, man, you can't just say, all right, 59-yard field goal, no problem. Let's just not get any more yards. You got to do something.
Right. Well, I definitely think that we leaned on, you know, the ultra conservative side of the spectrum, which, you know, is definitely not what Doug Peterson is known for. So that it did surprise me that we just chose to run it straight up the middle. I agree with the decision not to throw it with Wentz right there. I mean, he's been bad. We don't he's been making bad decisions, and then when he makes good decisions, it's a bad throw. And then on top of that, we don't have the receivers that are capable of bailing them out when that happens. So I get that. I mean, if we turn the ball over there and, you know, they get any type of return, I think there was 19 seconds. So, you know, there's definitely time for a couple plays there as well. If we throw it incomplete, you know, he's still got time for 1 or 2 more plays. That was how the Eagles actually ended up defeating the Giants in 2017 in that Week 3 game when Jake Elliott hit that 63-yard field goal, the walk-off game winner. The Giants tried to get in field goal range. They couldn't. They ended up missing the field goal. The Eagles had the ball back with time for 1 more play, threw a great pass to Alshon Jeffrey to get them into field goal range, and then Jake Elliott hit the kick of his career. So I think that Doug Peterson was more confident in Jake Elliott there than he was in the offense. I personally would have liked to see something with Jalen Hurts. I mean, if you're going to use him in the game and run some type of read options and whatnot, I would have liked to see, if you're going to run the ball there, and, you know, you want to be conservative, I would have liked to see you put him in, do a QB power, something, try to get some yards without putting it in the air. So I think it just showed a lot of Doug Peterson's distrust in both the offense and Carson Wentz and in the defense to not allow Joe Burrow to do the same thing to the Eagles that they did to the Giants back in 2017.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was going to be my next question, would be like the lack of trust in defense, because let's say after the false start, let's say you try a Hail Mary, you know, why not? Or, you know, to get 15, 20 yards and get out of bounds. You had 8 sacks. You know, you said Darius Slay had a good game. You know, the defensive line was getting pressure. It is a rookie quarterback in his 3rd game ever. Again, no preseason, you know, and I know it is Joe Burrow, reigning Heisman, you know, all this, all that, but to me, that's a lot of distrust in the defense to not at least try to do a Hail Mary or some 30-yard pass, get out of bounds. I mean, yes, you know, the Bengals would have needed to get 15, 20 yards for Randy Bullock, who missed a field goal in a chip shot in week 1. So, I mean, that would have been my question, is I would have at least thrown a Hail Mary on 4th down after the false start, but I'm with you, Joe. I mean, because Jalen Hurts came in for a couple of plays. He got a 1st down. So even if he got 3-4 yards, went out of bounds, you're still kicking that field goal at 60, 61 yards, but not 64 is just too much really for any kicker right now in the NFL, I think.
And I think at 59 yards, Jake Elliott, he's made big kicks in his career.
Absolutely.
And that was against the team. We actually poached Jake Elliott off of the Bengals practice squad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I really think that he would have made that from 59. I mean, I would have liked to see him try it from 64, because when he made that, he's made kicks with room to spare, you know, from long range. But I get it. I mean, if he misses that, then they're right there with time left. So I mean, you know, you definitely don't want to lose to the Bengals, but like I said, a tie, it feels like a loss. It's the same. It's demoralizing.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you guys can bounce back this week. I'm giving all of us a tie for our picks. We picked the Eagles. We technically didn't lose, so we're all we all have the little -1 at the end.
I can't remember if I said in the podcast that I wanted to pick this game as a tie. Like I truly did. I know I told one of my coworkers who's a Bengals fan that he was asking me about. I was like, "Can I pick a tie?" Like, because I really felt like I was not confident going into this game, but I wasn't confident we were going to lose. So, I really kind of felt the tie coming. It was definitely reminiscent of 2003 when Donovan McNabb was the quarterback, played the Bengals, tied, and after the game had the famous quote where he's like, "I didn't even know that there were ties in the NFL," which is still ridiculous. Like, I mean, there should at least be like double overtime or just something different. Like there should not be a tie. These guys are battling for 4 hours.
Right.
Don't end it in a tie.
Or just go back to regular 15 minutes because with 10 minutes, you're basically saying, okay, every team gets the ball once, assuming you have like a regular 4 or 5 minute touchdown drive or field goal drive. And then you're like,
right.
Okay, other team, like we saw there was a game last year, the team took like 8.5 minutes and kicked a field goal. And it's like, all right, you're giving us 90 seconds. So I think that does need to change, and hopefully it does. But moving on, we got the Tennessee Titans and the Minnesota Vikings. The Titans come back to win 31-30. There's a lot of things that I'm thinking about from this game. Number one, Steven Gostkowski seems to have found it. He made some big kicks again in back-to-back weeks. But then for me on the Vikings, this was the Vikings team that I predicted to win the NFC North, and that's what I thought we would be seeing the first 2 weeks. The offense was moving the ball. Justin Jefferson had his breakout game. He was drafted 22nd overall, Joe. Who had the 21st pick of the draft?
Oh, trust me. That was going to be my point, Tim. It was the Philadelphia Eagles. And right now it's looking like Howie Roseman once again got cute and, just went for the speed when everyone knew that Justin Jefferson was pro ready and was probably the better overall wide receiver. Jalen Reagor is a speed guy. I mean, he's injured, and he did show that big play threat in week 1 with the 55-yard catch for his first catch of his career. But, I mean, everyone was saying Justin Jefferson's nothing more than a slot guy. I saw this guy lined up on the outside one-on-one and winning one-on-one deep, making huge plays. So, to me, I mean, between, this debate right here with Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson and how it's going so far, looking at J.J. Arcega-Whiteside versus a guy like DK Metcalf last year. I mean, right now, Howie Roseman is looking worse and worse, and, his decision-making has to be questioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the Titans side, my big question from the Titans is they gave up 30 points last week to the Jaguars, and Gardner Minshew. This week, they gave up 30 points to Kirk Cousins, who, according to you, Joe, has looked like Kirk Cousins in weeks 1 and 2, very lackluster. So this Titans defense was supposed to be their bread and butter, ground and pound. They signed Jadeveon Clowney. They have Mike Vrabel. They stopped Lamar in the playoffs. So everybody's riding high. What's up with the Tennessee defense? Back-to-back 30 points.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's not something that I'm really concerned about if I'm Mike Vrabel, because I know he's going to get it together. He knows that team is going to get it together and they're going to show up. To me, it's a little bit more of a motivator for your team, because you can go out there and be like, hey, like we can win ground and pound, strong defense, just a 10-7 game, or we can go out there and put up over 30 points and win a shootout. They've got the team to do it right now. They're proving it. So, I mean, for me, Mike Vrabel, I mean, I think he's a great coach, and I think that they're going to get the defense sorted out by the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and they got a tough matchup. We don't know when it's going to be played, but they got the Steelers scheduled on their next game. And speaking of the Steelers, that's our next game. They beat the Houston Texans in the Watt Brothers Bowl, 28-21. That puts you at 3-2-1 blast-off. I'm 5-0-1, and Craig is 4-0-1. My big question from this game is is this the real Steelers team that everybody expected and showed up? Is this the real Houston Texans team? Because we saw them, kind of get blown out by the Chiefs, get blown out by the Ravens, but they were winning at halftime. Deshaun Watson, was throwing around the ball in the first half. The Steelers had to kind of claw away to touchdown victory in this game. So are the Chiefs and Ravens, and we'll talk about that game, but are they just here and everybody else is here in the AFC, or was this just kind of like two teams that are equal level were just kind of going at it? I mean, that's what I want to know is, who is the real team? Were the Steelers as good as we thought? Doesn't look like it, or the Texans better than their 0-2,
Right. And I think it's a little bit of both. I do agree. I think obviously the Chiefs and the Ravens are in that top tier on their own. But then I think in that next tier, it is like the Steelers, like the Patriots, maybe Buffalo, teams like that. But then I think in the next tier right below that would be like the Texans. And I think that this kind of game, I mean, the Texans, they do have talent. Like there are guys, Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback.
Absolutely.
And I mean, they've got some guys there on the offensive and defensive side of the ball where when it all comes together right, then they can look like the Texans that we want to see and that the Texans fans are hoping for. But I mean, to me, the fact that they didn't win just shows why they're on that tier below. I mean, the good teams, they end up winning those games and finding a way to, find success and do what they have to do to get the points in the end to win. And that's what the Steelers did. And that's what Ben Roethlisberger did. They're a veteran team and, they've been there before. They know how to fight and, play for all four quarters. And I just don't think the Texans do.
Yeah. And Craig said it on the Saturday episode where, as a Ravens fan, he says, he's kind of worried about the Steelers. Had they won like the Chiefs and Ravens did against the Texans, maybe like a 28-10, I would have been like, okay, like the Steelers are legit, like this is a problem. But I think right now, and this is kind of contradicting based on how the Ravens played Monday night, but I'm not too worried about them yet, but we'll see it, week 8 when we play. That'll be a good gauge halfway through the season to see what we need to do in the second half and the second time we meet. But moving on, you said in the next year with the Steelers, we got the New England Patriots. They ran the ball so much. They ran for over 250 yards rushing. They beat the Las Vegas Raiders 36-20. Rex Burkhead, I think, had like 3 or 4 touchdowns. He went airborne on one. It was pretty cool. And they played a complete game, but the Raiders, did okay. They did okay, but Patriots just put up 36 points, against that defense. You're not going to win many games, when your defense gives up 36 points. But Joe, your thoughts from Cam Newton and the Patriots beating the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's just the brilliance of Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels just, molding that system around the personnel that they have. I mean, no James White, is just Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead. I think that was it. Like there might have been someone else thrown in there. I can't recall. But I mean, it was the Rex Burkhead show and they did what they had to do and, moved the ball well. I mean, they've just got such great team chemistry. Everyone was just excited, jumping around, going crazy. Cam, I think, has brought a really fun energy to that team where it does look like they are starting to have fun compared to what a lot of people kind of said about the Patriots and, kind of their culture there. But it looks like they're having fun. And I mean, they're just still one of the best teams in the NFL. And, the Raiders are on the rise. The Raiders are getting there, but they couldn't really get the ball in the red zone. And I know they had a couple injuries now. I know Brian Edwards and Henry Ruggs are both expected to miss this week's game. So, I mean, they're definitely struggling in the receiver department. And Darren Waller, I mean, like I said, he was the guy that I thought they were going to do everything they could to shut him down and make them beat you with the wide receivers. That's exactly what happened. He didn't have a catch, I think, through the first 3 quarters. So, I mean, yeah, he did not have a good game. Patriots just came out ready to stop him. Yeah, I mean, they can do it all.
Yeah, and I think I've been saying it the whole time. The Raiders defense do need a couple of pieces. They got a lot of young guys and first round, second round guys on defense. But man, when you get torched for 250 plus rushing yards, it's not going to be a fun week of practice. And hopefully they bounce back strong because I do like them. I like John Gruden. I think they're going to be a pretty competitive team for at least a wild card spot. And then Joe, I don't know what's up with the Atlanta Falcons, but Nicholas Foles in at quarterback, brings the Bears back to win 30-26. I gamble on the Falcons way too much. I teased it down, or I bought a half point to bring it down to 2.5 in a parlay with the Steelers winning. They did, and the Patriots winning. They did, and it looked great. Then they had 2 offensive drives after the first Nick Foles touchdown. 1 run, 5 or 6 incomplete passes. Did they not learn anything from the Super Bowl? Run the ball. Run it. Run it. I don't care if it's Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky. You gave him way too much time. And then defensively, tackle and don't leave guys wide open. But that's my rant on the Falcons. Bears look good though with Nick Foles, and we'll see this week with the full week of him practicing as the starter. I'm excited. But Joe, I mean, I'll let you speak on the Falcons collapse and of course your Super Bowl winning quarterback Nick Foles.
Oh yeah, I mean, let me say, like, I love Nick Foles. He is one of my favorite players of all time, and will have a special place in my heart and all of Philadelphia's heart forever. I mean, you know, the man is amazing, great guy. You know, he did what he did best. He came in off the bench and he lit it up. He loves to do this, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that when he is the backup and when people don't have any expectations for him, then he just shows up. Those are the moments where he just proves everybody wrong. So I love to see it from Nick Foles. I think yes, it was a monumental collapse by the Falcons, and that's the big story. Like, Nick Foles did his job. He made, he ran a lot of the same plays Mitch Trubisky did, but just to hit on them. He was hitting on the deep passes, just gave his receivers a chance. He throws it up there and just trusts his wide receivers, and usually it works out for him. So I love to see it. I love it for Nick Foles, but I am wary moving forward with him as the starter, because whenever he's been the long-term starter, that's when things kind of don't end up going his way. We saw at the beginning of 2018 when he was starting, didn't really do that great to start the season. Back in, 2014 when he was the starter for Chip Kelly, didn't really do that great that season either. And then he always gets injured when he's in there for a long time. So, I'm rooting for him. I hope for the best, but I would temper my expectations for the Bears long term. Although they are 3-0, right?
They are 3-0.
And the Falcons are 0-3. Man.
The Bears are 3-0, but I think their point differential is +7 or something like that. They won every game by 3 or 4 points. We'll see with Nick Foles. He's going up against a good Colts defense, ball hawking defense this Sunday. So should be exciting for that. And then probably game of the day, at least in the 1:00 slate, the Bills up by the favorite score of the NFL, 28-3, the most dangerous lead in sports, apparently, or at least in football. The Rams came all the way back, took the lead. Then Josh Allen went down the field, a very questionable pass interference call on the Rams to give the Bills a first down. The Bills come back and win 35-32. Joe, I'll let you have the floor first. Give me your thoughts from this game.
Yeah, I mean, man, Sean McDermott, he brought those guys out fired up and ready to play. This was a big game for both teams, honestly. I mean, these are both competitive teams that, right now, I don't know about if the Rams are going to make it to the playoffs, but they were on the right track. They're 2-0. They're still 2-1. The Bills expect to be in the playoffs. Rams it's going to be tough with their division. But I mean, yeah, the Bills, they showed up and, won a big game. And, it was kind of like a prove it game for them to prove that they are legit. And I mean, yeah, Josh Allen looked great, just feeding the ball all around to his running backs, his tight ends, his receivers. He's doing a good job, and he's not really turned the ball over as much as he has in the past. So, if he continues to do that, defense definitely has to cut down on, allowing 30 unanswered points or whatnot. That's definitely concerning. But Sean McDermott, he's a great coach, and he's a defensive guy. I think he'll get that cleaned up. But I mean, it definitely shows the resiliency of a Bills team that started out so hot and then went cold for the rest of the game to just show up at the very end when it mattered and get the win. At the end of the day, that's all that counts. So, yeah, hats off to Josh Allen and the Bills.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the Rams side, I would have loved to have seen this game or watch it again soon. We're going to have to wait 4 years unless they play in the Super Bowl. But if they were kind of going back and forth all game instead of one team being down so much, I think it could have been a more interesting game, believe it or not, or at least maybe a different outcome. For the Rams, though, once they got those 2 touchdowns early in the third, Aaron Donald flipped a switch and was just eating Josh Allen for breakfast. But Bills come out ahead. I still like the Rams. I picked them in this game after the 1 o'clock slate. Joe, you're 6-3-1. I'm 7-2-1, and Craig is 7-1-1. And I think the Rams will bounce back. I mean, they got the Giants this week, so I still think the Rams are going to be good. It looks like that offense is kind of back to that 2018, like, all right, we got the weapons now. We got the pieces. Let's move the ball around. So excited for the Rams. Now we're going from this exciting game to the Jets, Joe. And the Jets, well, Adam Gase went into hyperdrive, and one of the first passes of the game was a pick six. Colts defense got another pick six later. Bunch of sacks, bunch of picks. Colts win this with ease, 36-7. Joe, is there anything you have to say about this game? I will say Jonathan Taylor looked great, or the Colts rookie running back out of Wisconsin, but
Yeah, I mean, Colts have a really good defense, and Jets' offense is bad, and the Colts are able to just completely take advantage of that mismatch and just capitalize. I mean, that's what separates, good teams from great teams, being able to, not only force those turnovers, but capitalize on them, punch it in the red zone, take it to the house, whatever it is. You can't, you don't want to just settle for a field goal. Colts have been doing that. I really like what I'm seeing from them. But I mean, yeah, I mean, for a guy who's supposed to be like, offensive genius, Adam Gase, like, dude, like, come on, get it together, man. I'll touch on him a little bit later, but his future is very, very much in doubt right now.
Yeah, it's currently Wednesday afternoon, and both Dan Quinn and Adam Gase still have a job. We'll see how much longer that lasts. But Colts win 36-7. We all picked the Colts, obviously. Then the next one we had a little bit of a fun, interesting game. I don't think it would be boring. I think the next game we're going to talk about was more boring. But the Lions get their first win of the year at a good Cardinals team in Kyler Murray. Lions win 26-23. Joe, we'll start with you. Your thoughts from the Lions and Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals just didn't show up on Sunday. I mean, Kyler Murray was turning the ball over. I mean, they weren't having those explosive plays like they have been all year. And then the defense just, allowed Matthew Stafford to, really play well, spread the ball around. I mean, Kenny Golladay, his first week back, he was getting involved. Marvin Jones is making plays. TJ Hawkinson, he's been really good so far this year. So, I mean, the Lions, like, when it comes together for the Lions, like, they can make noise. But, I mean, the Cardinals, like, it just seemed like they just fell apart. And they just couldn't really get back on track at all this game.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it with Kyler Murray and his turnovers. I think that was the key in this. Him and Stafford both threw for over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. But when you have, a couple of turnovers, you give the Lions a shorter field than expected. They're not gonna you're gonna lose the game, which they did. Jeffrey Okudah had his first interception in the NFL, almost returned it for a pick six. But yeah, you just can't do that if you're Kyler Murray, and he's still young. He'll still figure it out. But Lions get their first win of the year. Cardinals get their first loss of the year. And now we're moving on to which I think is one of the more boring games in the afternoon slate, and that would be the Panthers beating the Chargers 21-16. The reason I say boring was because, like, I was just bored watching it. The Panthers got so many turnovers, and they only got field goals from it. They weren't scoring touchdowns. They should have won this game by a lot. The only exciting part was, that last play where they failed the hook and ladder, and they had it. If Eckler had caught it, it would have been a hook and ladder. Justin Herbert, he kind of looked like the rookie that, a rookie quarterback. But Panthers win 21-16. I don't really have much to say. It was just boring. Like, so many turnovers, field goals, like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know Matt Rule loves it. He got his first win as an NFL coach.
True.
And I mean, I'm sure these are the kind of games that he wants to have and wants to win. I mean, this is kind of what he's trying to build in Carolina. I mean, we saw he spent all of his draft picks on the defensive side of the ball. So they want that defense to be able to force turnovers, get the ball back with good field position, and be able to win these grinded out games. I mean, Mike Davis had a good game. Love to see that. Definitely balled out a couple of my fantasies actually. So super hyped there. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty boring game, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big learning game for Justin Herbert. He's definitely got a lot that he can take away from that game, and hopefully get better from.
Yeah, if Christian McCaffrey was playing this game, this I think would easily been a blowout with all of the turnovers that Justin Herbert and the Chargers had, giving the Panthers a short field. But they still did the job.
Yeah, it's just so shocking after they came out last week and almost were able to beat the Chiefs. And then this week they just come out flat against the Panthers. And I mean, maybe they should just not tell Justin Herbert that he's going to start again until 10 seconds before kickoff. And, maybe he does better. I don't know. Maybe a week being the starter, like put some pressure on him. I don't know. But yeah, he just did not look the same.
Well, that Justin Herbert's backup is Carson Wentz's successor at North Dakota State and Easton Stick.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I think he came in for a play or two because Herbert got knocked out. But enough of the Panthers and the Chargers. Now we actually have another NFC South at AFC West matchup. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers go to Denver, Mile High City. Jeff Driscoll got hurt. So Brett Ripien came in. Buccaneers win 28-10. Mike Evans, 2 catches, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yes. But yeah, I mean, it was, what was it, 28-10 at halftime? There was no points in the second half, but the Buccaneers went ahead, and Brady was just like, all right, let's just put it on cruise control and win this game.
Yeah, I mean, God, Broncos are just so devastated by injuries. Like, I mean, you see that in the second half, like you said, there were no points. I mean, they're down 18 points, and in today's NFL, that's really not that much. So, it just pains me to see it because, like, the defense, they stepped up more in the second half and were able to, kind of stop the bleeding and slow everything down. But the offense just couldn't do their part. I mean, when you have, what is it, your third string quarterback now in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, what do you expect? Like, it's tough. So, yeah, I mean, Bucks defense played really well.
They did.
But, I mean, it is against, a decimated Broncos team. So, I mean, props to Vic Fangio, though, still coaching his tail off out there and having those guys compete. I really thought the Broncos were going to be something this year. It just sucks how it went.
Yeah, and they have so many injuries. I think with all their people out for the year, it adds up to like $65 million in cap space.
Yeah.
So they're definitely getting the Philadelphia Eagles injury bug. But against a second, third string quarterback, maybe this is what the Bucs defense needs to kind of step it up a little bit. They have the talent. They were supposed to be a top 10, top 15 defense. So hopefully a game like this kind of, kicks their butt a little bit and they kick it into gear. Now we got 2 fun games to talk about and then another game. The Seahawks beat the Cowboys 38-31. Could have been by a couple more points had DK Metcalf put the ball in the end zone and not get it stripped out by your boy Diggs. But Russell Wilson, we're letting Russ cook, and I'm all here for it, man. Give this man the MVP just right now, to be honest. He
That's
cooked.
what I'm saying.
The Seahawks defense did worry, but going up against a pretty good Cowboys offense with Dak and all of those weapons. So a lot of points from this game, but Seahawks win 38-31. Joe, your thoughts?
Oh, I love it. I mean, it's definitely worries me that the Cowboys were in it that much because, it's because I know the Seahawks are one of the best teams in the NFL and the Cowboys were close. I mean, they had opportunities to win that game. The Seahawks had opportunities to put them away. So, I mean, I know the Seahawks weren't at their A game that week. Cowboys weren't really either, but they were close to it, and they were in that game. So that tells me that, the Eagles are just not in the same stratosphere as the Cowboys right now. So that definitely concerns me. But, I mean, yeah, like you said, Russell Wilson, man, like, give him the MVP right now. He just deserves it. Like, he is just on fire. And I've been saying I think Russell Wilson should be MVP every single year for what he's been doing in Seattle. And I'll continue to say I love to see what he's doing. But yeah, I mean, Michael Gallup had a couple good plays for the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper showed up as well. But yeah, I mean, Seahawks definitely, kind of let the Cowboys back in this game. And then Jamal Adams got injured. I think a couple other players on the Seahawks also ended up going out. I got to see Shaquem Griffin make a couple plays. I love to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, week 3 is done. The Washington football team is the first place team in the NFC East with a record of 1-2. So that's still a very winnable division. It looks like only one.
It's insane that the Eagles tied, and it felt like a loss, but we still gained half a game on the rest of the NFC East because everybody else lost. It's ridiculous.
I think it's pretty safe to say that one team will be coming out of the NFC East for the playoffs this year, unless you guys just start winning out of nowhere. But that was Seahawks Cowboys. Any other thoughts from that game, Joe?
Nah, I got nothing to say about the Cowboys.
All right, now we're going to the nightcap where I was completely wrong. I thought this was going to be a 24-10, 24-13 type of game, but Aaron Rodgers was still wheeling and dealing, doing his thing. Drew Brees was still not throwing it more than 5 yards down the field. Thank God he has this guy named Alvin Kamara on his team, 200 total yards and a couple of TDs. But Packers come out victorious 37-30. Zadarius Smith got that big turnover late in the game to put that Packers team up 7, up 10 points. And from that point on, it was just the Pack show for that last 10 minutes. But, Joe, what did you think from that Sunday night football game?
Yeah, it was kind of what I talked about when we were previewing this game. I really thought it was going to be which quarterback could take advantage of could maximize the wide receiver talent that was there without their number ones. And I mean, we saw Aaron Rodgers hit Allen Lazard deep. Allen Lazard really played well against the Saints. And I mean, all the Saints could really do was feed it to Alvin Kamara, and it was working. Packers don't really have a great run D. So, I mean, that was definitely the formula there, and that's what kept them in the game. But ultimately, if your wide receivers aren't able to win on the outside, and Emmanuel Sanders still not doing much, so I mean, it's they could only do so much on offense, and the Packers were just able to do a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little upset that MVS didn't get the throws instead of Lazard, but I went with the Packers in this game. Craig went with the Saints. So going into Monday night, Joe, you are 9-5-1. I'm 10-4-1, and Craig, our guest, was 9-4-1. Needless to say, we tied because the Kansas City Chiefs come into Baltimore, into Charm City, with no fans. I should have been there at that game, but Chiefs come in and win 34-20. Needless to say, the Chiefs are the defending champs, still the best team in football. Patrick Mahomes did his thing again. He's the best quarterback in the league. The Ravens, I don't even know where to begin, Joe. I mean, I thought about this for the past couple of days. I was more heated Monday night. I've calmed down a little bit, but defensively, we'll start with defensively first. It's Patrick Mahomes. And then, he has Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But Andy Reid calls the most screens in the NFL as a coach. And since he's been coaching, his teams have been doing the most screens. And we've seen him do tight end screens and fullback screens before. I don't know why when we got in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, that we thought that they were actually going to do a screen to the running back. Travis Kelce ate us up, and then the fullback, Anthony Sherman, when he came in the goal line situation on 3rd down, I said to my family and some of our guests over, I was like, we got to cover the fullback because he's going to throw it to him, and he did. So we got to watch the screen. Secondly, we got to get a pass rush. We franchised Matt Judon. We brought in Calais Campbell. Calais had a good game, actually. Calais, you had a good game. Derek Wolfe also had a good game, our signing. Derek, you had a good game. We got to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Queen, our rookie linebacker, got treated like a rookie.
Yeah.
And then for blitzing on the one of the touchdowns to Hardman where he was like wide open, we blitzed Marlon Humphrey, the best cornerback in the NFL. We blitzed him, put him back in coverage, blitzed literally anybody else. But Andy Reid did a good job of attacking Marcus Peters, a guy that he knows very well, a guy that he drafted. But defensively, we just looked lost. So we need to make a lot of adjustments offensively. Here we go. Much like the Falcons, run the ball. On 21 rushes, we averaged 7.2 yards per rush. Keep doing our thing. When we go down 3 points, when we go down 10 points, I don't know why all of a sudden we panic. We've seen this offense go 99 yards in 10 plays. We've seen them go 99 yards in 4 plays. We've seen this team go 8 minutes, eat up the clock, 15 plays, and get a touchdown. We've also seen this team get 2 touchdowns under a minute in the first half. Why? We're playing Patrick Mahomes. He's carving up the defense. Get him off the field. If time of possession was Ravens 40, Chiefs 20, giving Patrick Mahomes only 5 or 6 drives, I feel confident we're coming out with that game. All you need is 2 non-touchdown stops, and they're still at that 30-point margin, which our offense can do, especially if we have 40 minutes time of possession. Lamar, he really wanted to win this game badly. And he's been saying it all week. He really wants to win the Super Bowl badly. Early on, you could tell that he wanted it to just be the Lamar show. He was trying to run every single time. Like, he wasn't really trying to throw the ball. He was making bad decisions on his read options, which he adjusted a little bit. But he was like, this is all me. This is all me. Like, I got to do this. I got to be the guy. No, you don't. We got Ingram. We got Dobbins. We got Edwards, Andrews, these receivers. So offensively, when we go down, we just need to stick to our game plan. Our offense is built on getting 5 or 6 yards rushing on first down. Then we're going to go for it on fourth down, especially 4th and 4 or less, as long as we're not on like our own 10. So you have 3 plays to get 3-4 yards in the first down. We can go deep, take a shot. We can run the ball. We're probably the only team that would run on like 3rd and 8 and then 4th and 3. So like clearly we can still move the ball. So, but our offense isn't built on 2nd and 10, then 3rd and 10. Then it's like, all right, well, we're done. And then another thing is Lamar didn't have the best of throws, but catch the football, especially to you, Mark Andrews. You know who would have caught those passes? Hayden Hurst, the tight end we traded. Now, bias aside, he went to South Carolina. It was a great trade. We got J.K. Dobbins, and Hayden Hurst is tight end number 1 for a pass-happy offense, and he's doing well in the Falcons. But he was our pass-catching tight end. Mark Andrews continues to drop passes and key passes, catch the ball. Receivers, get open. I mean, there's a clip going around of 2 receivers just running into each other. You know, Lamar had to make throws. Like, Hollywood Brown was wide open for not only the over, but for a touchdown. You know, so when we go down, we just can't panic. You know, we just got to keep doing our thing, keep running the ball, and get Patrick Mahomes off the field. And it sucks because just on Twitter, it seems like Lamar Jackson is the only quarterback that can't have a bad game. When we win and do our thing and win 35-10, it's, wow, this offense is great. The Ravens are good. Lamar is legit. Then he has a game like this, and it's like, oh, that's what you have for having a running back as a quarterback. Guess he can't throw in the league. Like, this Ravens team is just not good. It's like, if the script was flipped and we won that game and Pat Mahomes had a bad game, everybody would be like, yeah, no worries. He just had a bad game. No worries. Like, just bounce back next week. Like last week against the Chargers. It's like, dude, Lamar can have a bad game. Chill out. All right. Like, we're not going to go 16-0. Chiefs might actually, but that was my rant. Last thing, we won the kicker battle. Everybody thought Harrison Butker was the best kicker in the NFL. Forgot Justin Tucker existed. Harrison Butker missed an extra point, missed a field goal. I had the over, so I'm a little upset at him, but we won the kicker battle, baby. Victories.
Oh, yeah. Justin Tucker, you got to have that moral victory. He's a beast. Yeah, I mean, you said it. It seemed like Lamar was pressing from the beginning and just kind of wanted to put the whole game on his shoulders and just take it over. And I mean, football is a team sport. There's 11 men on the field. Everyone's got to do their job to be successful and work together. But I mean, yeah, people got to help him out too. I mean, Marquise Brown was dropping passes in the first half. Did not have a good game. I really was expecting and hoping in my fantasy that he would ball, and he did not. 3 catches, 14 yards, I believe. God, Marquise Brown, talking to you, not cool. So,
I actually, Joe, I had a bet that was Marquise Brown and Tyreek Hill scoring a touchdown. And if Lamar had that pass to Hollywood in the fourth quarter, I was like, that would have hit the over, which I had. Yeah. And it would have, like, I would have won like $50. It was like a $50 swing. I was like, but
yeah,
go on.
God. No, I mean, yeah, like you said, Andy Reid just kind of picked on Marcus Peters. He knows him really well. I mean, it just didn't seem like anybody could really like step up and make a play when they really, except for Devin Duvernay with that kick return.
Yeah.
That kick return, that to me, like that was, just such a game-changing play. I mean, it just kind of changed the momentum. The Ravens were able to get a stop and get the ball back. But I mean, yeah, Mahomes just kept doing his thing the whole game. And, like you said, those screens, like they really went after Patrick Queen this game, really attacked the rookie and just, gave him all sorts of misdirection. And then, took advantage of it. And Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they're going to do that to the best of you. So don't feel bad, Patrick Queen. You'll learn.
Yeah, and I was a little bit more upset Monday night after the loss, obviously. But they're the Chiefs. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. They have Patrick Mahomes. This team could go 16-0. They're going to still go 13-3, 14-2, 15, whatever. So they're still the best team. And, I think a lot of Ravens fans have started to realize that the last couple of days. This wasn't like the Titans. The Titans, I was sad for like 3 months. I was like,
right,
how did we lose to this team? But then like a day or two, you're kind of like, all right, well, like it's the Chiefs. They're like the best team in the NFL. But that's it. That's it on that game. We both went 10-5-1. Craig went 9-5-1. Craig, thank you for coming on as a guest and setting the bar for future guests. If you want to become a guest, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your pick on our Saturday video, but comment your pick for Thursday Night Football, which we're going to talk about right now, Joe. And this is going to be a stinker, probably. We got the Denver Broncos at the New York Jets. There's currently no spread. It's a pick 'em. So the Broncos were an early 3.5-point favorite, and then a lot of people started betting on the Jets. Now it's an even. The over-under is 40. Joe, do you have any thoughts from this game, and who's your pick?
So from what I understand, if the Jets lose to the Broncos on Thursday night, Adam Gase will be fired.
Oh.
So I know that Adam Gase is fighting for his job this week. I'm sure that the Jets players, maybe in theory, want to fight for their coach. But I don't think these Jets players want Adam Gase there any more than Jets fans do. I think they know the writing's on the wall. They don't believe in themselves as a good football team. And Vic Fangio has these Broncos coming out here to play. I mean, they're doing what they can with all of these devastating injuries. And I think that they're going to have more energy. They're going to be flying around the ball more. It's going to be a terrible game. Don't get me wrong. I really don't even know if I'm going to watch it. So, it's going to be bad. So, we'll see what happens. But, I mean, yeah, I think the Broncos are going to win. Adam Gase is going to be fired on Friday morning.
All right. Well, I think you nailed it. Like, it's whatever. But I can't trust this quarterback. I don't even know his name on the Broncos. So
Ripien or something like that. Apparently, he's real good. He's not bad at the no huddle and just quick passes. It's going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts.
I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think mainly because in one fantasy league I picked up Brandon McManus, Broncos kicker. This has 12-3 written all over it and field goal. So we're both going with the Broncos. Let's giddy up, saddle up. Let's go Broncos.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that'll end our Week 3 recap and Thursday Night Football picks. Joe, do you have any other thoughts from Week 3 or anything you're looking ahead for Week 4 that we're going to talk about on Saturday?
I really wish that the NFL would just flex the Eagles and 49ers out of this freaking Sunday night game. I do not want to stay up for that. God, don't make me do this. I don't want to see a bad football team face another injured football team and lose. Come on. And I'm going to have to stay up late and just be miserable on Monday morning. They need to flex that game. Maybe, figure something out. Maybe just the whole season gets called off because of this COVID outbreak. And, everybody forgets that the Eagles started out 0-2-1. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So that's all I can hope for. But, also hope that, nobody actually gets sick or gets hurt,
Yeah.
Honestly.
And Roger Goodell, after you subscribe, and comment, flex the Eagles 49ers game. I know it's a late notice, but just do it. Just do it. After you subscribe, and comment, Goodell. But yeah, I got nothing else to say, man. That's it for today's episode. Make sure you check in on Saturday early afternoonish. That's when the next video will be released with our week 4 picks. Until then, everybody, enjoy Thursday night football, I guess. But enjoy the game. Let's go Broncos, and we'll see everybody on Saturday.
All right. Have a good night.